Let's be honest, just hearing the words family court can be pretty intimidating, right? It sounds stressful, maybe even a little confusing. But what if I told you it's actually a system designed to help, not to hurt? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and really demystify how these special courts work.
And this question really gets to the heart of it all. I mean, think about it. When a family is going through a tough time, the last thing they need is a legal system that just throws gasoline on the fire. And that problem, that's the exact reason a whole new kind of court had to be invented. All right, so here's the plan. First, we'll look at why regular courts just don't cut it. Then we'll dive into the family court solution, what they handle, and what makes their approach so different. We'll even walk through what a case looks like from start to finish, and then wrap it all up with the key takeaways. So let's get started with the problem.
Okay, Section 1, Why Regular Courts Fail. To really get why family courts are such a big deal, we have to start with the why. What was so broken about the old system that we needed a whole new one just for families? Picture a typical courtroom drama on TV, right? It's a battlefield. You've got one side against the other, lawyers battling it out. That whole adversarial setup can take a family dispute, which is already incredibly painful, and just escalate it into an all-out war. Plus, these things can drag on forever, and they're usually public. It's a recipe for more trauma, not healing. And that leads us right into Section 2, the family court solution. This is where we see the answer, a system that was literally built from the ground up, specifically designed for the super delicate, complex, and personal stuff that comes with family law. And let's be clear, this isn't just some regular court with a new sign slapped on the door. No way. The Family Courts Act of 1984 created something totally different. The three magic words here: expertise, sensitivity, and speed. That's their whole mission.
And this slide really breaks down their core purpose. See, it's not just about a judge banging a gavel and declaring a winner. It's about finding a real resolution. The whole system is built to be faster, to always put the kids first, to make people talk things out before they go to battle, and to keep the whole process private and confidential.
Okay, Section 3, their exclusive jurisdiction. So what kind of cases do these courts actually hear? Well, their job is super specific. They have what's known in the legal world as exclusive jurisdiction.
This chart lays it out perfectly. You can see the clear lines drawn in the sand. Family courts? They're your go-to for things like divorce, child custody, and domestic violence. What they don't touch are big criminal cases or commercial disputes. And that focus, that specialization, is exactly what lets them get really, really good at what they do. And if we want to get even more specific, take a look at a major law like the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. If your case falls under any of these categories you see here, we're talking divorce, alimony, custody, it has to go to a family court, period. There's no other venue. That's what exclusive really means in practice. All right, moving on to Section 4, the court's special approach. Because it's not just what these courts handle that's so different, it's how they do it. This is really where the family court sets itself apart from the pack. Yeah, you could almost call it their special sauce. It's this unique mix of rules and philosophies that makes the whole thing tick in a completely different way. First up, and this is a big one, mandatory conciliation. This means before you ever step in front of a judge to argue your case, you have to sit down with a court counselor and try to settle. The whole point is to find some common ground and, ideally, avoid that courtroom battle completely. The second key feature: confidentiality. Look, unlike most court cases that are open to the public, these hearings are held in camera, which is just a fancy legal term for in private. This is so important. It protects the family's privacy and, crucially, it shields kids from having their lives put on display during an incredibly tough time. And this might just be the most important feature of all, the child-centric approach. In any case that involves kids, their well-being is the #1 non-negotiable priority. Every single decision the judge makes, from custody arrangements to visitation rights, is all about one thing: what is in the absolute best interest of the child. And finally, we've got speed. The goal here is to get cases wrapped up within about 12 to 18 months. Now, if you know anything about the regular court system, you know cases can drag on for years. So this focus on a quicker resolution is an absolute game changer for families who just need to find some closure and move forward with their lives. Okay, so we've talked about the theory, but what does this actually look like when a case goes through the system? Let's walk through a typical journey step by step.
So the whole process is meant to be pretty straightforward. First, someone files a petition to start the case. Then the other person is officially notified. Then comes that really important step we talked about, mandatory conciliation, where they try to reach an agreement. If that doesn't work, okay, then it moves to a formal hearing with the judge. But remember, it's still private. And finally, the judge makes a ruling and issues the final order, called a decree. It's a clear, structured path that's all about getting to a resolution.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So for our final section, let's just boil it all down to the most important takeaways. All right, time for a quick revision. What do you absolutely need to remember? 1, they were created by the Family Courts Act of 1984. 2, they have exclusive power over stuff like divorce, custody, and maintenance. 3, they have special features like mandatory conciliation and are always child-centric. 4, they prioritize speed, that 12 to 18-month target, and confidentiality. And finally, the big one, their whole approach is about healing and restoration, not just fighting.
And I really want to leave you with this idea because it just sums everything up so perfectly. The approach is about being healing and restorative. It's not purely adversarial. Think about that. The goal isn't about one person winning and the other losing. It's about helping a family find the best possible path through a really difficult time.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on, doesn't it? If this model, this focus on healing instead of just winning, can work for something as messy and emotional as family law, well, where else could it work? What other parts of the legal system could use a little less fighting and a whole lot more trying to find common ground? Definitely something to think about.